Senior care and assisted living. There are estimates out there that this can become a $25 billion market with the proliferation of nuclear families in the second most populated country on this planet. Senior care living and assisted living has just not reached the mark it is supposed to be. It is being seen as a big opportunity. And with that, I'll now introduce our next guest. It is Dr. Karthik Narayan of Athulya, which has just raised 77 crore rupees from an affiliate of Morgan Stanley. What's got Morgan Stanley so bullish as well? What is the size of this market? Are Indians comfortable with self-care, with senior care and assisted living, given the cultural dynamics as well? That and more is what I'm going to be discussing with Athulya's founders and CEO, Dr. Karthik Narayan. Welcome to ET Now. Congratulations on the fundraise and getting a marquee investor like Morgan Stanley at your cap table. Share with us your experience. You've been around now for what, almost half a decade. What has been the reaction, and you're primarily in South India, what has been the reaction by Indians so far? Are your customers primarily seniors whose children are living abroad? Or are you seeing that even if the children live in the city or nearby, they're comfortable putting their parents in assisted living or senior care living?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's an exciting day, not just for us, for the industry as a whole. This is the first professional institutional investor for the sector. So we're very happy to be at the forefront. See, the sector has really evolved over a period, I would say. The quick comparison would be with what hospitals were done 35 years back, where a lot of the big groups, brands, where it was all earlier mission run, now it's all become enterprise level models. A similar phase is happening to the senior care sector, where today very few operators are there covering a capacity of only close to 20,000 beds. But what is really needed for the market is 300,000 beds, which is a big gap that needs to be addressed. It's just not one player. Many have to come on board to achieve this. We're very excited for Morgan Stanley to really validate our business model and help us in the growth. To really answer your second question on the stigma and keeping the Indians' mindset living abroad or here, I think the real awakening was COVID, when travel restrictions were there and elderly living alone was not easy. With the current data in mind, there is going to be a 700% growth in the 80 plus population, which is very, very significant. And our systems are not in place to handle that kind of volumes. So regulatory frameworks have to come in. And more than that, the COVID has really awakened the mindset a lot of the children living abroad. They know such incidents could happen, and my mom and dad all could be in trouble living alone. So I think there's a shift in mindset, both at the children level and at the elders level, where they know living alone is no more easy and safe. So I think the COVID has been a big boost for us in overall thinking and decision making among children and among parents.
So if you were to talk about Athulya specifically, how does it work? At what age can someone say, okay, I want a house, I want a bed, I want a room? How does it work? What's your starting price point? When they buy from you, does it go back to their family estate? Do they ever return it back to Athulya? Because in America, and I'm studying the American models, these are the two prevalent models. Either the house goes to the estate or it has to be returned back to the company.
So our model is currently in India, as you say, mostly it's the housing model. But in the US or in any developed country where the model is more on a subscription or a rental model, but really they're not worried about the liability of the asset. So how we work is we work more like I would say a closest comparison would be a luxury service apartment for elderly, where it's not a liability, it's more a service and a comfort. They're at paying on a monthly subscription basis, where all the services are packaged based on their needs. It varies somewhere between average between 50,000 to a lakh, depending on the requirements. Somebody would be needing more of personalized care, and somebody would be needing just a general care. But really is understanding the pain point of the customer who's paying, who instead of putting a large lump of sum of money into a real estate and thinking about how I'm going to handle it in the future, this is you pay as long as you want to stay, and that's the model we're working on an asset light lease rent model on a per month, per day, or a long lease model. So that has been very exciting for a lot of the children living abroad, where they don't have to worry about registration and identifying the right property, putting a large sum of money, and what if it goes wrong? Instead, they're just paying as long as they want, and they can always move to any other location, and their capital is not stuck.
But then tell me something, from what you're saying, is the market primarily then made up of children who are living abroad, worry for their parents, children who are not living near their parents? We're still at that very nascent stage?
Yeah, I would say that is where the majority is. But interestingly, with nuclear families in India now, where families want to have their own location, and parents no more want to feel like I am a burden to them. So I think elders are starting to take decisions even locally. We've seen interesting change the last 6 months to a year, where some of their pension and their savings, no more gone are the days where they give everything to the children. I think even parents, senior citizens living in India are putting some money aside for their own retirement and for their own aging issues. So, interesting change. Majority, I would say, 70 to 80% of our customers are children living abroad, but we're seeing a very interesting shift in the local population as well, where they don't want to be dependent, and they don't like the feeling of being alone. So it's interesting change happening in the years to come. I think there will be a good balance of 50-50 between NRI and local, the way things are going.
So what's the starting price point? What's the minimum? If somebody watching this show says, okay, let me try and find out more about Athulya, what is the minimum one will have to pay out in a year?
Per month, a minimum entry would be 50,000. Unfortunately, we're still in the GST bracket, which is a separate topic by itself. So a minimum would be a 50,000 per person for an entry in Athulya per month. Depending on how long they would stay, it would add up.
And what hospitals have you tied up with? Because, you have to provide medical care. It could come in the middle of the night. It could come on a national holiday. It could be in the day. You have to have tied up with hospitals.
Yeah. Healthcare care becomes a very essential part, especially the 80 plus population, where you don't know when the issue is going to be coming. So it has to be under constant surveillance. So our facilities are fully equipped with clinical nursing and doctors around the clock, so that reassurance is available, not just because they are sick or they have some issues, is that assurance that some clinical folks are available for them in terms of emergency. That's the kind of comfort senior citizens are looking for. Am I in a safe place where somebody can take care of me if anything goes wrong? So that's the model we're really looking at, reassuring them and giving them a very happy, healthy, and safe environment.
Okay. So you're not going to go with an exclusivity tie-up with a hospital chain, for example?
So, currently we're operating across the south in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka. So we are positioned in such a way we are less than 10 minutes from the nearby hospitals. In Chennai would be the Apollos or the MGM or the SRM group, or in Karnataka would be the Manipal group. So we have a pan-India tie-up with most of the leading hospitals. That's really helps in handling the golden hour, because it's very important to be located very close proximity with the hospitals, because an emergency happens within the golden hour. You need to stabilize and take care of them to avoid a permanent damage for them. So that's something we're very, very mindful of being very close to hospital premises so that an emergency can be handled.
Okay, and the final question before I let you go. Now, a very important part of aging, of course, is to make sure that the senior citizens, the super senior citizens, also remain engaged. What kind of community activities do you have? Will you give preference to someone whose family member is already in the self-care home? Does everyone have to eat lunch together, eat dinner together? Is there bridge rooms? Is there going to be a golf course?
Absolutely. I think healing is not just physical, it happens in the mind too. So activities become a day in, day out. It has to be planned and it has to be very personal to every person. So we have a separate social worker who has a calendar put out every day. There are close to around 50 activities that happen on a monthly basis, right? From addressing from memory issues to mood to depression, anxiety, because every elderly comes with different backgrounds of their family and health issues. So it's very important to tailor make their activities as well. So we have group activities and individual activities. Somebody who's not able to move out of their room, we would do more in their room activities with board games or memory games that would really trigger their thought process to keep them active in their aging process. And in the group activities is right from music therapy to handling depression issues or anxiety, group therapies, counseling sessions that really help them to keep their mind active, because one of the main issue in aging, as we all know, is dementia. You don't want that to kick in. As long as you're able to keep their memory active and their minds active, that really helps.
Okay, so that's Athulya for you. And last question, up in the north, where we've seen assisted living here is by the listed entity Max India, Analjit Singh's daughter Tara Singh Vachani, who's been leading it with Antara. Now we're hearing about Athulya, which is being backed by Morgan Stanley. How many competitors do you have in this space? Is it a multiple winner-take-all market? Are you focusing in cities, or will you go outside cities, maybe look at hill stations?
As of now, the focus has been primarily the south, because if you look at the aging population, most of the preferred locations are usually the southern states where the healthcare infrastructure is very strong. So we were initially in the first phase focus on all the southern states where good healthcare infrastructure is available to take care of senior citizens, majorly in the metros to start with. In a phase two, we will be looking at tier two cities as well. But as a phase one approach, it will be mainly southern metros as the key focus to capitalize on the healthcare infrastructure and take care of seniors.
Right. Thanks a lot for joining us today. All the very best.
Thank you very much.